Good morning, everybody. If you're not having a line and have woken up to see me read, thank you so very much. I'm going to be reading from the very first chapter of The Boy at the Back of the Class. So for those of you who haven't read it yet, I'm hopefully not going to give too much of the story away. So let's begin. I'll be jumping through it a little bit, so I'll say the page names for anybody who wants to read along. Right, we're beginning at chapter 1, The Empty Chair. There used to be an empty chair at the back of my classroom. It wasn't a special chair. It was just empty because there was no one sitting in it. But then one day, just 3 weeks after school started, the most exciting thing that could ever happen to anyone happened to me and my 3 best friends. And it all began with that chair. My 3 best friends are Tom, Josie, and Michael. Now, Tom's got short, spiky hair and a side smile, and a big Adam's apple that looks like a ping pong ball has got stuck in his throat. He's the smallest in our group, but he's also the funniest. He only joined our class last year after his parents moved here from America, but we became friends instantly. He has 3 older brothers who all tease and bully him. Not seriously, only for a joke, but I think they steal his food too, which is why he's so skinny and is always super hungry. I once saw him eat a whole pizza with extra toppings and a double cheeseburger for lunch and still not be full up. So I hide my snacks and chocolate bars from him when I can. Josie has large brown eyes and at least 1 million freckles across her face. She's tall and gangly and is always chewing on her hair. She's the fastest girl in our school and can kick a football past any goalie from the other side of the pitch. She's the coolest person I know. And I've known her since she was 3, well, we were 3. Our mums say we became instant friends the first day we started at nursery, so they decided to become friends too. I don't really remember much about myself at that age, but Josie is in all my school memories. We even got our first attention together last year, all because of a hamster. Michael has the neatest, puffiest afro out of all the boys in our year. Most people think he's weird, but not us. His glasses are always broken and his shoelaces are never done right, so he's always tripping up or bumping into things when he walks. But we're all so used to it now that we never notice. He's mostly quiet, but when he does say something, grown-ups usually look impressed and say that it's ingenious or insightful, or use other strange words beginning with in. I don't know what they mean all the time, but I guess they mean he's clever. Grown-ups always like coming up with long words for simple things. Having 3 best friends can make school seem like the best place to be, even on the most boring day. Although this year something happened which changed everything. Jumping to page 8 now. In the 3rd week of school, on the 3rd Tuesday after school had started, Mrs. Khan, our teacher, was taking the register. She was just about to call my name when there was a loud knock at the door. Usually, when there's a knock on the door, it's just someone from another class bringing a note, so no one really pays much attention. But this time, it was Mrs. Sanders, the head. Mrs. Sanders always wears her hair in the exact same way and peers over her glasses whenever she talks to us. Everyone is scared of her because when she gives attention, she doesn't just make you sit in a room, she makes you memorize long words from the dictionary and doesn't let you leave until you've learnt them all off by heart, the meaning and the spelling. So when we saw that it was Mrs. Sanders at the door, we all fell silent. She looked very serious as she walked up to Mrs. Khan, and we all wondered who was in trouble. After she had whispered and nodded for a few seconds, she suddenly turned around and, peering over her glasses at us, pointed to the empty chair at the back of the class. All of us turned around to have a look at the empty chair. This was the chair. As I said, it was a pretty ordinary chair, and it was empty because a girl called Dina left our class at the end of last year to move to Wales. After whispering for a few more seconds with Mrs. Khan, Mrs. Sanders left the classroom. We expected Mrs. Khan to say something, but she seemed to be waiting, so we waited too. It was all very serious and exciting. But before we could start guessing about what was going on, Mrs. Sanders came back, and this time she wasn't alone. Standing beside her was a boy none of us had ever seen before. He had short dark hair and large eyes that hardly blinked and smooth pale skin. Everyone, said Mrs. Khan as the boy went and stood next to her. This is Ahmed, and he'll be joining our class from today. He's just moved to London and is new to the school, so I hope you'll all do your very best to make him feel welcome. We all watched in silence as Mrs. Sanders led him to the empty chair. I felt sorry for him because I knew he wouldn't like sitting next to Clarissa very much. She still missed her best friend Dina, and everyone knew she hated boys. She says they're stupid and smell. I think it must be one of the worst things in the world to be new to a place and have to sit with people you don't know, especially people that stare and scowl at you like Clarissa was doing. So I made a secret promise to myself right there and then that I would be friends with the new boy. I happened to have some lemon sherbets in my bag this morning, and I thought I would try and give him one at break time. And I would ask Josie and Tom and Michael if they would be his friends too. After all, having 4 new friends would be much better than having none, especially for a boy who looked as scared and as sad as the one now sitting at the back of our class. And I'm just going to jump now to page 19, where the narrator and their 3 best friends are waiting for Ahmed the refugee boy to come out into the playground at home time. He's probably left already, said Josie. Tom and Michael nodded. Let's just wait 2 more minutes, I said, hoping that he would still be inside and that we would still get to meet him. I wonder if that's his mum, said Josie, as we saw a woman in a woolly hat and a bright red scarf standing in the playground. But I didn't think so, because the new boy, when he came out into the playground, didn't hug her at all, and she seemed shy around him too. Come on, said Michael. He was pointing to his watch, which was beeping like a submarine. Michael has a special watch that tells him when the next bus is coming. It's meant to help him get to places on time, but I've only ever seen it make him bump into things more quickly. No, wait, I said. And before I could think about it too much, I ran over to where the new boy was now standing with a woman in the red scarf. Hello, I said, tapping him on the shoulder. Mrs. Khan and the woman in the red scarf looked down at me as I reached into my pocket and got out the lemon sherbet I'd been keeping in my pocket all day. Here, I said, holding it out. I was a little bit embarrassed because by now the sherbet was covered in fluff, but it was still good enough to eat. That's the good thing about lemon sherbets. No matter how bad they look, they still always taste delicious. I think I must have spoken too loudly because the new boy took a step away from me as though he was frightened. It's all right, Ahmed, you can take it, said the woman in the red scarf, motioning to him with her hands as if she was speaking in sign language. But the new boy grabbed her hand and hid his face behind her arm. I didn't know what to do because I've never really scared anyone so much before that they wanted to hide away from me. The woman spoke to him gently again, and after a few seconds, he took the sherbet and looked straight at me with his lion eyes, before hiding away again. Thank you, said the woman. Ahmed will enjoy that on the ride home. I nodded and then raced back to where Josie and Tom and Michael were waiting for me. I felt extra happy because Mrs. Khan had smiled at me with her whole face and given me a wink too, just like my dad used to do whenever he thought I had done something good or when he was teasing my mum. When I'm a grown-up, I'm going to wink at people just like he used to do and make them feel special too. And as we all made our way home, I decided that the next day, whenever I saw the new boy staring at me, I was going to give him just as many winks as I could. So that's a reading from The Boy at the Back of the Class, and I hope it will interest those of you who haven't read it yet to go and want to read it. Now, I am going to set you a challenge or a task to go away and do. It's something that you can do, take your time doing, and that is, well, really it's 2 things. One, what would you do if you couldn't speak someone's language but wanted to be their friend? What kind of things might you do to try and show them that you want to be their friend? And the second thing, which is bit of a bigger question, is if you were the leader, I want you to imagine that you're the leader of a country and that you can make rules and that you can ask people to do things on your behalf. What would you do to help solve some of the problems that refugees are having to run away from? Or what would you do to try and help welcome them in a nicer way than some governments are currently doing? And that's a bigger question. I would love for you to have as many discussions about that with your family, with your friends, and maybe even write your answers and perhaps send them in to Refugee Week or Counterpoints. So that's my task for you. Thank you for listening to me.